My name is Jackie Church and I'm representing the GLOVE project, which is Global Longevity through Village Enterprises. I set the project up back in 2007 in the Gambia, and from there we registered both in Gambia and then in 2008 in UK. We became a UK registered charity. Before I joined, the project was non-existent, and the initial purpose of setting up was to do village redevelopment. So we did a lot of solar water systems, income generating projects, milling machines, take drudgery away from the women, community gardens so the villagers, rural villages could feed themselves, bakeries, taught women tie-dye, batik and sponsored children at school. And then in 2019 we came across a child amputee, and through research we found that there's no help whatsoever for any child amputees in the Gambia. So if there's no assistance there, they don't get a leg, they don't get any rehab, they don't go to school, they're just left abandoned. I met Chris through Julie of Jofi. I was visiting Julie with a sick child, and it was a child called Ibrahima. We have several Ibrahimas, but this Ibrahima, small Ibrahima as we call him, he'd been in hospital 9 months and he was absolutely riddled with an infection called osteomyelitis, and he'd eaten most of the joints and bones in his body, and he had a lot of external iron fixations in his leg. The tibia had been eaten away in his leg, and he was in a very, very poor state. While I was there with the child, with Julie, she said, look, let's do a little video and send it to Chris. And that's how the involvement with Chris started. The impact Chris had on the project, I'll begin by saying, wow, wow, wow. Honestly, the impact has just been massive. We are a tiny little organisation that when we need a leg, when we need a prosthetic for one of these children, we put out a plea on Facebook and we're asking people for £5, for £10, and it takes a long time. It takes a long time just to get the money for a leg. Then we have to fund rehabilitation and bicycles and education and medical care. Chris came along, oh my word, I cannot begin to explain the impact. Number one, this child Ibrahima, he needed this surgery. He needed massive amount of 24-hour care in my home. I couldn't do it all on my own. Chris funded all of that. He funded his medical care, his medical bills, night care so that I could sleep at night. And that's just one example. And that child, Ibrahima, was at my house from the 2nd of December through to the 1st of July. And he went through various surgeries and massive, intensive rehabilitation to get him back onto 2 legs. Another way Chris impacted is there was myself, purely on a voluntary basis, and 1 member of staff. And that 1 member of staff has been with me many years. It's a Gambian called Babu Kasonko, and he's been with me many years, and we know each other very well, and he's totally dedicated to these child amputees, which is where our total focus is because of demand and need. And this man, he's a family man, he has a young family, 3 young children, was earning £90 a month, and I was so ashamed but just didn't have the money to give him more. Chris doubled his salary, doubled it. Can you imagine? This young man is laughing and singing and feels the pride that now he feels he can better take care of his own young children, his own young family. That's a massive impact. Chris has also paid for another member of staff on a monthly basis. So now we have Barbuka, the project manager, and we have a young guy called Peter. So the difference it makes, myself and these 2 local Gambian guys, that impact, that space, that potential, it's amazing. It means 2 of us can go off on home visits and 1 can be doing hospital visits. So it gives a lot more scope. Another massive impact, water. You wouldn't believe it. My house has to be the rehab house because there are no rehab facilities. So the ground floor of my house is for rehab for all of these child amputees, and also for residential review. We frequently run out of water. Chris funded, it's £600, a ground level water tank and a new pump. What I was having to do before was every couple of weeks call the local fire brigade to fill my tank on the roof 3 stories up and pay them for that water, and the expense time and time again, just so the children could keep clean, just so the environment could be disinfected and scrubbed. Now Chris has paid that £600. Now we have water all of the time. We don't have to worry about going round the neighbourhood with containers to beg water from people who've got a borehole and fill up our own containers. The vehicle we were using for the project was my own personal vehicle, which was a very old 2003-2004 RAV4, which frequently broke down. We would frequently have children in the back of the vehicle on the way to Banjul, to hospital appointments or to the prosthetic centre. The car would break down. I'd have to drag children out the back of the car, stand on the side of the road, flag down a taxi to get the children to their appointments at the hospital in Banjul, some 20 miles away. Of course, once we got to Banjul, we're then stranded. You know, we have to worry about getting back with these children, all with prosthetic legs. Now, thanks to Chris, who's topped up the funding for a project car, we have a vehicle that's suitable for purpose. We can carry up to 7 children at a time. We can do home deliveries, the home visits, and deliver 50-kilogram sacks of rice. We can deliver the medical aids, the wheelchairs, bicycles, and the vehicle's not breaking down all the time. It's reliable. What Chris has done is just turned this project around. Now we're not having to be reactive when we have a need for a child, when we have a medical emergency. We have funds there, thanks to Chris, and that just is beyond words. We can never thank Chris enough. The most important projects that we're working on now it's the rehabilitation of these children. It is getting them normalised to be accepted again, back into their families, their local communities, and into society at large, and keeping them going, doing their home visits, their nutritional status, because they are so neglected. Every child with a disability in Gambia generally is abandoned. They're not worthy. The only things they can ever be or become are beggars and nothing else. So we're trying to change all of that and normalise this, and you know, not be last at the food bowl, and you know, to make sure they have appropriate nutrition. So it's regular food packages to them, which makes their caregivers and families feel, oh, they are worthwhile. Look, they're bringing a sack of rice every month or every 2 months. Oh, we better look after them a little bit more. So it's improving the nutrition and maintaining the legs, because obviously they outgrow the legs. So making sure as they're growing that they do have ready access to new prosthetic legs. And for the future, it's about having a purpose-built rehabilitation centre. For the future, very much the overall aim is to have a purpose-built rehabilitation centre, residential rehabilitation centre for these children, but also to include young adults who have lost a lower limb due to accident or whatever, who were working and need to get back to work, so that we can offer them rehabilitation back into their workplace and back into their families.